Every year, the same story repeats itself. A new iPhone launch, a new Samsung event, news headline declaring the biggest smartphone battle yet. Tech YouTubers compare cameras, fans argue online, brands spend billions convincing us that the war is still raging. When you step back and look carefully, something strange becomes obvious. Phones don't feel revolutionary anymore. Competition feels repetitive, and no matter which brand you buy, the experience feels oddly similar. So today, we are not asking which phone is best. We are asking something different. If the smartphone war is over, who actually won? And most importantly, what did it cost us? To understand how the war ended, we need to understand how it began. In the early 2000s, phones were not platforms, they were tools. You used them to call, you used them to send messages. Nokia dominated the world, BlackBerry ruled professionals, Motorola sold style. These companies weren't competing over ecosystems or user data. They were competing over reliability, battery life, and signal strength. Back then, changing your phone didn't change your life. It was just a device. Then in 2007, something changed.
A giant screen. Now, how are we going to communicate this? We don't want to carry around a mouse, right? So what are we going to do? Oh, a stylus, right? We're going to use a stylus. No. No.
Apple introduced the iPhone. And this is important. The iPhone didn't win back then because it had the best hardware. It won because it redefined what a phone was. A phone was no longer a communication tool. It became a pocket computer. Soon after, Android entered the market. And for the first time, the battlefield wasn't hardware anymore. It was software, apps, platforms. The war had officially begun. In the years that followed, many companies tried to survive this new war. Some adapted too early, some adapted in the wrong direction, some never adapted at all. Nokia tried touch screens too late. BlackBerry underestimated apps. Microsoft's Windows Phone arrived with no ecosystem. One by one, they left the journey halfway. This wasn't because they made bad phones, it was because phones were no longer the product. The ecosystem was the actual product. By the mid-2010s, the industry had consolidated into two boards. Apple's iOS ecosystem and Google's Android ecosystem. Everyone else was either inside these two boats or drowning outside. This is a classic example of what economists call platform lock-in. Once platforms dominate, late entrants don't compete on the quality, they compete on relevance. And relevance is far harder to win. Around 2015 to 2017, smartphones reached what analysts call peak maturity. Screens were large enough, cameras were great, processors were faster than anything users actually needed. For years, specs were weapons, megapixels, clock speeds, RAM numbers, but specs have ceiling, human perception. Once phone crossed that ceiling, numbers stopped meaning much. A camera going from very good to slightly better doesn't change anything in your life. A chip becoming 20% faster doesn't change your habits. This is why Chinese manufacturers, despite excellent hardware, couldn't dominate the war. They won on paper, they lost in power. Because power was no longer in the device, it was in what surrounded the device. This is the most important shift in the entire story. The smartphone war didn't end because someone built the best phone. It ended because phones stopped becoming the battlefield. Apple stopped selling iPhones. It started selling Apple Life, iCloud, iMessage, AirDrop, Apple Music, Apple Store purchases, and Google on the other hand did similar with Android, just differently. Gmail, Maps, Drive, YouTube, Play Store. According to Apple's annual reports, services revenue has grown faster and more consistently than hardware sales. And why? Because once your data, habits and subscriptions live inside an ecosystem, living becomes painful. Switching phones now feels like switching lives. Photos, passwords, messages, notes, payment systems. This is no accident. This is a designed trap. This is where confusion usually happens. People ask, who won, Apple or Android? And the answer is both and neither. Apple won control, Android won scale. Apple controls its ecosystem tightly, it monetizes loyalty. Android spreads everywhere, it monetizes attention. Google doesn't need you to buy an Android phone, it needs you to stay inside Google services. These are two different business models, both extremely successful, both deeply entrenched, and both nearly impossible to displace. And this brings us to hard truth. Quality is no longer enough. You can buy a great phone and still be irrelevant. HTC learned this, Sony learned this, even Google struggles despite owning Android. Because once ecosystem dominant, the game changes. Markets don't reward best, they reward embedded. As the saying goes, it's not the best product that wins, it's the product people stop thinking about. Smartphones achieved that status. Today, the smartphone market is saturated. Most people upgrade less often. Many keep phones for 4 or 5 years. According to industry reports, replacement cycles are lengthening globally. This forces companies to extract values elsewhere. And they are subscriptions, services data. Despite better phones, people feel oddly dissatisfied. This is the dissatisfaction treadmill. You upgrade, you feel excited for a week, then nothing changes. Why? Because innovation stopped serving users. It started serving revenue models. As a saying goes, people don't buy what you make, they buy what makes them feel something. Phones now promise feelings they can't deliver, so dissatisfaction persists. Phones now replace wallet keys, cameras, tickets, identities. This feels empowering, but it also creates dependence. Convenience is not neutral. It always has a cost, and that cost is choice.